Hi, welcome back to my story time with Nana. I have a whole new story for you. Last week, we heard about Alabama and a great library. I hope you had a chance to go to the library last week. This week, whole new story. I'm very excited about it. Um, Alaska. Have any of you been to Alaska before? Wait till you hear this. Just a little bit of information first. Alaska, the 49th state to join the Union. It's also known as the last frontier. Alaska is located in the most northwestern part of the United States. The capital is Juneau. You should research the Alaskan flag. Do you know a 13-year-old boy named Benny designed the flag in 1927? The blue background is for the Alaskan sky and the forget-me-not, an Alaskan flower. The Big Dipper is for the Great Bear, symbolizing strength. And the North Star is for the future of the state of Alaska being the most northerly of the Union. Now, most people imagine a lot of snow or polar bears when they think of Alaska, and that's true. But did you know that Alaska has a summer? Because Alaska is our most northern state, their summers don't last very long, only a couple of months. But generally, from May to July, it's daylight for almost 24 hours a day in most places. Can you imagine that? A day that never ends? This story is about a boy visiting his grandparents in Alaska one summer. Let's begin. 10-year-old Pax boarded the airplane in Seattle, Washington for his 2.5-hour flight to Anchorage, Alaska. He was very excited. He was going to spend the next 2 weeks with his grandparents in the coolest place in all of America, as far as he was concerned. He wasn't nervous being on the plane alone. He had made this trip plenty of times with his mother. Besides, he was a big boy now. It wasn't long before he heard the stewardess instruct the passengers to return to their seats and buckle up. Butterflies filled Pax's belly. He was so excited. 2 whole weeks with his grandparents. What would they do? Pax! A woman yelled out from the crowd of people waiting for their family members to disembark. Grandma! Pax answered, running to his grandmother. He leapt into her arms, hugging her tight. She smelled like sweet apples. Where's Grandpa? He went to get your suitcase, she answered. Oh my, how you have grown. You're nearly as tall as me. Come on, let's go find Grandpa. Wait till he sees you. She took Pax's hand and guided him through the airport. Pax saw his grandfather watching the bags go round the conveyor belt, looking for Pax's suitcase. Grandpa! He yelled, running to him. Is that you, Pax? Grandpa asked, scooping him up. It can't be you. You're almost as tall as Grandma. Pax hugged his grandfather tight. Grandpa smelled like cinnamon. Together, Grandma and Grandpa smelled like an apple pie. I mean, who doesn't like apple pie? You got here just in time, Pax, Grandpa told him. Do you know what tomorrow is? No. Is it your birthday? Nope. It's the summer solstice, he answered. Do you know what that means? Isn't that the longest day of the year? It is, Grandpa answered. You sure are a smart boy, he said, ruffling Pax's hair. Of course he is, Grandma said, putting her arm around Pax's shoulder and giving him a tight squeeze. After all, he takes after us. Here's your suitcase, Pax, Grandpa said, pulling the bright red bag off the conveyor belt. Let's get out of here. We have a lot to do today, and we only have all day to do it. Pax and his grandparents left the airport and headed into Anchorage's South Addition neighborhood. Grandma and Grandpa had one of the original houses built in the 1940s. Grandpa loved it because it was so close to the Westchester Lagoon so he could fish. And Grandma loved it because of her garden. Pax loved it because, well, it was Grandma and Grandpa's house. Once Pax unpacked, he and Grandpa walked to the lagoon, and it was starting to cloud up. Looks like we'll get some rain, Grandpa told Pax. It does that a lot here in Alaska. Now I'm hoping tomorrow is a nice clear day. We have big plans. We do? Yep. Even though the days are longer and you won't want to go to bed early, Grandpa told him, you're going to need your rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day, in more ways than one. Well, what's the big plan? You'll see tomorrow, Grandpa told him. Let's get back and see if we can help Grandma with dinner. I noticed she made some baked Alaska for dessert. Yum! My favorite! They strolled back to the house, and when they walked in, the smell of salmon cakes filled the house. And my favorite dinner! Pax exclaimed. Later, Grandma tucked Pax into bed. Dream well, sweetie. She kissed the top of his head, and Pax fell asleep to the sound of rain tapping on the roof. It was still light outside. Up and at 'em! Grandpa yelled into his room. Time to get going. Grandma made pancakes, and you better hurry if you want some. I can't stop eating them. Pax jumped out of bed. He certainly did not want to miss out on Grandma's famous pancakes. Good morning, Pax, Grandma said when he walked into the kitchen. Looks like we're going to have a nice adventure on this beautiful Bluebird Day. What's Bluebird Day? Pax asked her. A Bluebird Day is when you have a beautiful day, especially after rain or snow, she answered. Look outside. There's not a cloud in the sky. A perfect day for the summer solstice. What time is it? Sunrise was about 3 hours ago, Grandpa told him. Get up. We have a train to catch in an hour. A train? Yes, sirree, Bob, Grandpa told him. We're going on a ride. See a little bit of Alaska. Yippee! Pax cried out. I love trains. He ate his breakfast quickly, and then Grandma sent him to change and brush his teeth. Wear some boots and bring a jacket, Grandma told Pax. It may be sunny and warm right now, but that could change. Best to be prepared. They arrived at the train station, and half an hour later the train was pulling out and heading down the track, through Anchorage and the outskirts of each neighborhood. Soon the train was chugging along, turning an arm on the right and Potter's Marsh on the left. Hey, look over there, Grandpa said to Pax. Do you see the moose? Pax turned to look. The train slowed down a bit, and everyone moved to the left of the train to get a good look. It was amazing. There were moose everywhere. Wait till we get to the tunnel, Grandpa told Pax. It seems like it goes on forever. I can't wait, Pax told his grandfather. He sat back and took in the beautiful scenery, and the train moved on and moved on and moved on. Soon it slowed and entered a tunnel. Is this it, Grandpa? Is this it? Well, it's a tunnel, but it's not the longest tunnel, Grandpa told him. You'll know when we go through that tunnel. But when we come out of this tunnel, look to the left and you'll see Bear Valley. And to the right is Portage Lake. It was formed by the receding Portage Glacier. Pax was amazed by the lake and the valley. Everything was so beautiful. Soon, the train began to slow down again. Here we go, Grandpa said. Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, 2.5 miles long. It takes 10 minutes to get through it, so sit back and relax. Cars have to take turns with the train just to get through the tunnel. Wow, Pax exclaimed, looking out the window. It's so big in here. Looks like a giant mine shaft. When the train exited the tunnel, it pulled into Whittier Station, and Grandma, Grandpa, and Pax left the train. How about some lunch, Pax? Grandma asked. Pax and his grandparents ate a light lunch of fish and chips and then took a hike, not far from the station. They walked a trail that led to an amazing waterfall. Look, Grandma pointed to a small bush. Those will have blueberries in a month or so. Next year, you'll have to visit in July so we can go blueberry picking. I thought it was too cold for anything to grow in Alaska. Nonsense, Grandma said. Look around you, Pax. It's a beautiful bluebird day. Everything wants to poke its head out and say hello. Hello, blueberry bush, she said, running her hands along the top of the bush. Be back soon to pick some berries. They walked back to the town trail, browsed through some shops, and Grandma bought Pax an Anton Anderson tunnel t-shirt, and then they headed back to the station. The train ride home was almost as exciting. Grandpa and Grandma had reserved seating in the dining car, and they had an amazing dinner of Gold Rush gumbo. It wasn't long after dinner that the train pulled back into Anchorage. Pax was sorry that the trip was over, but it had been a long day. And even though it was still daylight outside, he was sure to sleep well that night. Hey, Pax, Grandpa is going to start a bonfire, Grandma told him when they got home. It's a tradition on the summer solstice. Bonfire and moose track ice cream. How does that sound? And so, on his first full day with his grandparents, Pax rode a train, went through a long tunnel, hiked to a waterfall, ate dinner on a train, and now was sitting outside beside a bonfire with his grandparents eating moose track ice cream at 10 o'clock at night during the first day of the summer solstice, and it was still daylight out. This was the best day ever. The end. Wow. Imagine going on a train ride through Alaska and seeing all of those things. Do you have a train near your area where you can maybe take a train ride and see what's around your neighborhood? You should do it. If not, see if you can go to Alaska and do it there. That sounds like a lot of fun. Don't forget to share my stories. I will see you next week. Arizona. I hope you're excited about that. I'm excited about it. Again, don't forget to share my stories. See you then. Mwah. Thanks for listening.